Alright guys, welcome to the channel, America's Reality 360. We got another good one for you today. It's going to be a quick one, but I did want to release a full-length version of a YouTube short I put out earlier. Now the title of that short was Michael Knowles Ends Wajahat Ali's Career. Full disclosure, he obviously doesn't end his career, but that is something said on YouTube commonly whenever somebody completely dunks on someone else's head, and Michael Knowles is going to completely dunk on this left brain's head. It's awesome, it's hilarious, and it's definitely worth staying tuned to the very end. I hope you do. But it also exposes how these people will just throw out claims, accusations, statements without doing any research, without knowing anything they're talking about, and he's going to prove that right here. So again, I appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoy it. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right, later.
But they can be pretty intransigent sometimes in their view about how things should be. And some have not been generals and are eminently less qualified than Pete Hegseth. So what was your view?
Look, I know that Republicans actually like affirmative action because they're perfectly fine with mediocre MAGA men and lowering the standards to the point where Pete Hegseth, the Fox News host, can slither under it. And B, the Secretary of Defense, for people who don't know, the Secretary of Defense overlooks a budget of over $900 billion, 3 million people. He is responsible in particular for defense policymaking. We're talking about law and order, national security. You're going to give it to Pete Hegseth, a man who was in the National Army Guard. His fellow colleague in the Guard looked at his tattoos and actually reported him to be an insider threat because it was so extreme. This is a man who wrote a book called American Crusade.
Alright, so you heard what he said about the tattoo there, and that's the part we're going to focus on in the video, so I'm just going to fast forward through all this other gibberish and get right to the good stuff.
Sent one of the most damning emails I've ever heard in red matter. If you're mother sends an email that Pete Hegseth's mother said you have failed in life, accusing him of being a sexual abuser, a man whose own Fox colleagues have said, allegedly in the New York Times, that they're worried about his alcoholism and alcohol problem, and a man who has economic impropriety allegations. He was released from 2 nonprofits. What are we doing here, Piers? Listen, with Marco Rubio, I disagree with him. You don't see me here complaining. Qualified guy, intelligent guy, Secretary of State, fine. Pete Hegseth, as Secretary of Defense, what are we doing? You guys are putting lipsticks on a pig, and you're making America less safe. And the right wing in MAGA is doing this for Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
You're making this country less safe just because you're bending the knee to Donald Trump, and he wants a lapdog, who, by the way, I'll agree with Dave on this, who's good on TV.
Okay,
so that's what
I'm going to come to Michael.
Trade our national security for Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
Release the woman from the NDA. I want to hear from the woman. Secretary of Defense, let's defend women for Pete Hegseth.
You made your point.
That's my take.
You made your point. Any negatives while we're at it?
He works
out. It's a joke. It's a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. You haven't actually take that seriously. Let me bring Michael in here. I mean, look, a whole litany of stuff there, almost all of which was put to Pete Hegseth. I thought he actually batted away all of that stuff. We've got a clip actually of him batting away one of them. Let's take a look.
All they were out to do, Mr. Chairman, was to destroy me. And why do they want to destroy me? Because I'm a change agent and a threat to them, because Donald Trump was willing to choose me, to empower me, to bring the Defense Department back to what it really should be, which is warfighting. So I'm willing to endure these attacks. But what I will do is stand up for the truth and for my reputation. False attacks, anonymous attacks, repeated ad nauseum, printed as nauseum, as facts. We have provided to the committee, Mr. Chairman, and I know you're going to share, on-the-record statement after on-the-record statement from people who have served with me, worked with me at Fox News, Concerned Vets, Vets for Freedom, you name it, from the top of the chain to the bottom, who will say I treat them with respect, with kindness, with dignity. That's men, that's women, that's black, that's white, that's every background. I have prided myself as a leader of respecting people, being professional.
Michael, I thought that was quite an effective response, really, because a lot of it is just innuendo, hearsay, unsubstantiated allegation. Other stuff has been settled, as Mahajat says. That's not uncommon in America. It's incredibly common for people to do NDAs, settlements, or whatever, with no blame or liability attached. Where do you sit with this? I mean, it looks like Hegseth is going to get...
I don't know about you. That's not common.
Sorry?
That's not common, not for me. I don't know about you, but that's not common.
I'm not saying for you or me.
There's a police report where I sexually assaulted a woman and I signed her to an NDA. In America,
that kind of settlement is not uncommon, is my point. Just generally, in the American system, a lot of things get settled that way without any admission of liability or wrongdoing, which is the case with Pete Hegseth. Michael, where do you sit with this?
Well, so much of what Mahajat just said is not true, or as you point out, Piers, is completely unsubstantiated, like the allegations that Pete Hegseth shows up trying to work. I've been, excuse me one second, Mahajat. I've been on that morning show with Pete a number of times. I've been in studio with him a number of times. The only thing you could accuse Pete of is being too alert and energetic. I found it overwhelming, actually, while I was there, tired, trying to dust the sand out of my eyes. But you suggest that the graduate of Princeton and Harvard, who for decades has been in the U.S. military, served his country honorably, that he's somehow unqualified to work at the Pentagon. The most egregious accusation you make against him, though, is that he's an extremist because he has a tattoo. Could you tell us what the tattoo is?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
The tattoos, specifically, I did not make the allegation that he's an extremist. It was actually
you
his
repeated the
fellow
allegation.
colleague
So what's
who
the
called him
tattoo?
as an insider threat.
Yeah, right. So
It
what's
was
the
not
tattoo?
me.
I can tell you it says
It was
Rose-
his fellow
No,
colleague.
let Wajahat answer, because
Wajahat,
you raised it. Hang on, Wajahat raised the
Deo's fault,
tattoo.
right? Go ahead.
Wajahat,
Chinos,
the
it
fair
was Deo's
question.
fault,
What
and
is
it
this
was his
tattoo that
colleague.
you're
I
so
mentioned the
upset about?
facts. It was his colleague. Wait. Two things.
Wajahat, hang on. Simple question. What is this tattoo that you're so upset about?
I wasn't the one upset about it. I was talking about his fellow colleague. This is exactly what I said. His fellow colleague.
Do you know what it was?
In the U.S. Army, called him out as a potential insider threat.
What is
looking
the
at
tattoo?
the tattoos
You don't
on
wanna
his
answer,
chest.
huh?
What is the
and
tattoo?
Also, I called him an extremist based upon his own book. Read the book,
What
American
is the
Crusade.
tattoo,
His own
Wajahat?
words.
If you don't know what the tattoo is, just admit it.
Oh my lord! Listen,
Would you
this
like
is
to
it?
tell you
Also,
what the tattoo is?
I want to-
Wajahat? I'm
wait,
happy
wait.
to
No, I'm
inform you.
genuinely intrigued. Do you know what it
Go
is or
ahead.
not,
We got a
Wajahat?
panelist.
Wajahat, do you know what it is or not?
She hasn't spoken yet. A woman hasn't spoken yet.
She's going to come. She's going to answer the question. You're not answering. Final question to you,
I did
Wajahat.
answer it, but go
Final
ahead. I
chance.
got my colleague right here.
Be
to
honest.
my
Be honest,
right. Go for
Wajahat.
it.
Do you actually know what that tattoo is or not?
Listen, what I do know is
Do
I
you?
read his book, and in his book, if
Do
you read
you
it,
know
called
or not?
American Crusade, in his book,
Wajahat,
wait a second.
Be
In
honest.
his book,
Be honest.
I am. Look, you guys
Ironically,
are putting lipstick on a pig
no one's going to
and
crucify
literally
you
bending
if you
the
don't
knee
know
for
the
Donald
answer.
Trump,
But do you know the
putting
answer?
our national security at risk for Pete Hegseth. I'm telling you everything, and you guys are finding ways to spend. Why are you guys
No,
okay
we're
with a
simply
man
asking you.
who has an NDA
We're
with a woman
simply
that he
asking you,
allegedly sexually
do you
assaulted?
know what
Why
the
are you guys
tattoo
okay?
is
I
that
said
you got
exactly
so
what I
upset
said.
about?
It was his colleague. His colleague called him out as an insider threat, not me. His
This is a simple
colleague.
question.
And I also said, go to his book, read his words.
but just to be
American
clear,
Crusade,
Wajahat, you
where
haven't
he
got-
says,
Heat stuff.
I'm
Wajahat,
too
you haven't
extreme
got
from the
clear-
U.S. military.
much
Pete
better.
Hexett's own words.
Wajahat,
Why are you
stop
okay
talking
with
for a
that,
moment.
Michael?
Wajahat, you don't
David,
know, do
Michael,
you?
why are you guys okay with
Wajahat,
that?
you don't
Where
know, do you?
literally in his book, American
Wajahat,
Crusade,
Wajahat,
he says he's too extreme for the U.S. military.
Wajahat, you don't know, do you?
Oh my gosh. All right, let's look it up right
I'd
now
also love to know
because
the
No,
names
don't
of
look
some
it
of
up.
Fox colleagues.
Don't look it up.
No,
Let's go
why
back to
not?
Michael. Michael,
No.
hang on, Michael. We gave him this chance. He obviously has no idea. Michael, what is the
this
the
falls
answer?
along a threat as an
excuse me,
insider
No, no,
threat.
Wajahat, I've gone back to Michael now. You had your
2021
chance.
pegged Pete Hegseth as a potential
Wajahat,
insider.
you had 98
threat, a
chances
Deus
to
Vult
answer and you
tattoo.
failed the test.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I'm going to
Deus
Michael.
Vult
I'm
tattoo.
going to
So the
Michael.
answer-
Don't
the
Don't talk
answer
over
is
each other.
that the
Michael.
tattoo in question is called a Jerusalem cross. That this is a medieval Christian symbol, goes back a long time. In fact, at Jimmy Carter's funeral, there was a Jerusalem cross on the floor of the cathedral, and on the program for the funeral, there's one other tattoo that some have suggested could be extremist. It's the phrase Deus Vult, which is a medieval Christian slogan, a long traditional slogan that refers to God's will, and it goes back a long way. These are very traditional, very mainstream Christian symbols that not only are not extreme in any way, but which even the people who want to accuse him of extremism couldn't possibly name. That is pathetic.
Yeah.